Okay, let's continue. So today we are going to discuss a topic about request dispatcher in Java Servlet. Right. So before understanding this request dispatcher, I will give you the real-time example. So the real-time example is like, let me take this. So let us take the example of Amazon, right? And this is Amazon, and this is a person by the name of Amazon, and this is you, and this is another person. Like there are three persons. Right? So this is you. You in the sets, like let me say it like client or end user. So the end user is trying to purchase a product from with Amazon services. Right? So end user is placing a request with Amazon services. Right? So Amazon services, it has to process your order. Before processing your order, it will ensure that the billing is done. After billing is done, it will process the order, right? But you as a client, you will place a request to Amazon. We write it as Amazon, right? You as a client will place a request to Amazon, but Amazon, right, it is going to dispatch your request to the courier services. Your request will be dispatched to another person, right? Here the name of the person is what? Some courier services, any courier service, courier service, right? So this is your request. So when I say request, let me write it as let me suffix it like prefix it like HTTP, right? You expect a response from the Amazon, but Amazon is trying to bypass your request. Amazon is trying to dispatch your request to the courier services. HTTP, right? So these courier services, they are the one who are going to supply or deliver your order. This is the simple outline about the request dispatcher. Right? You get response from the what? I mean, instead of Amazon, you get actual response from the courier services. HTTP response, right? Because see, the as soon as the billing is done, Amazon, it is going to depend on the courier services, and this courier services is going to give the response for your request. The request is placed for Amazon, but you're getting a response from the courier services. So this is what we call it as what, this is the outline to understand the request dispatcher in Java Servlet. This is one of the examples, right? So when you talk about request dispatcher in Java Servlet, right, what is going to happen internally is, so this request dispatcher is an interface actually. Request dispatcher is an interface that provides the facility of what? It will provide the facility of dispatching the request. Dispatching the request to another services or to another resources. The resources can be anything. Maybe an HTML page, or it may be a servlet page, or JSP. Right? So if you observe one thing, this is the high level outline, but again there is a problem here. The problem is very simple. Let me copy this. So copied this. Let me take this diagram. Sometimes what happens, even though the request is successfully placed, Amazon is going to process the billing, but while processing the billing, it may encounter some problem. Sometimes what happens, you may not be having the sufficient balance, right? When you don't have the sufficient balance, right, it won't be appropriate to dispatch your request to the courier services. Amazon has to take care of so many things internally. right? When the request is placed for a specific product, right, it has to take care of billing. First, before even billing, it has to check whether the product that you're looking for is available in the stock or not. First thing, right? Once the product is available, it will also look for the billing. It has to ensure that the billing is completed. To achieve this billing, it will again place a request to your banking server, right? The request will be placed to your banking account, right? So these many things needs to be taken care by the Amazon services. If at least all these three things needs to be satisfied sequentially. If anything is getting failed here, right, your request will not be dispatched to the courier services. So in this case, what happens? So Amazon is going to develop an response object. So let us understand this as what the response object. Response, right? If this response object is getting fulfilled, you will directly, if it is not getting fulfilled, you will get the HTTP response directly from the Amazon itself, saying that you do not have sufficient balance, anything, you don't have sufficient balance, or the product is not available, right? Or it can be anything, but your request will not be dispatched to the courier services. Your request and the response will be taken care by the Amazon itself. Client is sending a request, and if you receive the response from the Amazon itself, right, it means there is some problem, there is some kind of problem, right? Your request is not getting dispatched to the courier service, means there is some problem. What is the problem that we can expect? Maybe insufficient balance, or product is not available. There can be any internal things, right? This is one case, this is one typical case. So this is one scenario, scenario one. Scenario one, a request will be sent to Amazon. Amazon will create a response object, and the response will be delivered to the client itself. So in this case, request will not be transferred or dispatched to the courier services, because somewhere it is getting failed, right? Request and the response is being circulated over here. You're placing the request, and you are getting the response from the Amazon itself. It means there is some problem. Problem can be anything: insufficient balance, or product is not available, whatever it is. So this is case one. Just keep it in mind. This is case one. And the case two, and there is also case two. Case two says, you place the request, right? Amazon is going to generate the response object, right? In the response object, all the conditions are satisfied. Conditions in the sense, you have sufficient balance to make the order, and the product is available in the stock. So many conditions needs to be looked after before even proceeding your request or transferring your request to the courier services. So this is the this is a response, right? Request is sent to the Amazon. Amazon will generate a response object, right? If everything is fulfilled, the response object, right, it will save this response object, but this response will not be sent to the end user. This response will be kept by Amazon itself, but Amazon is going to transfer this response. This response will be transferred to the courier services in the form of HTTP request, right? So in simple words, I can say that a client is placing a request to Amazon. Amazon is going to check in the backend. Okay, the stock is available. The client has sufficient balance to process order. All the conditions will be checked and satisfied, right? So when this is correct, when these things are satisfied, it is going to dispatch your request to the courier services, and the courier services is going to act upon the request, and the exact product will be delivered to you, right? Now what happens? Now the courier services will create a response object. This is the response object that is created by what? That is created by the courier services. right? So let me remove this. This is not required. This is response object that is created by courier services, and this response will be sent to the client, saying that the order has been placed successfully. This is your address. The order will be delivered to you in so and so time. This is case 2. Okay. Case 1, request to Amazon. Amazon verifies. The verification is failed. Response object will be created. The response object that was created by Amazon services is going to send to the client, right? So there is nothing to do with the courier services. Case 2, if everything is successful, right, that request will be dispatched to courier service. This is case 2. Okay. This is case 1 and this is case 2. Right. Now if you observe this, request dispatcher is an interface that provides the facility of dispatching the request to another resource. Right. And again, so since it is an interface, it has internally 2 methods. One method is the forward method. So this part is going to talk about what? This part is going to consume the method called forward method. Public void forward, within the brackets, it is going to take servlet. It is going to accept 2 parameters. The name of the parameter is ServletRequest REQ, Servlet response REQ. Right? When you are using this method, it means that when you are using the forward method, it means that you are placing an instruction in your program saying that please forward this dispatch this request to the another services or the another servlet. Right? You will check some condition. Right? Firstly, you will check a condition. Okay, if the condition satisfied, forward the request to the courier services. For that, you will be using this method. Secondly, if the condition is not getting satisfied, do not forward the request. Instead of forwarding the request, give the same response. Give the response from the same page. In this case, Amazon. For that, you will be using a method called include method. Public void include method we will be using. Again, it is going to accept the servlet request REQ, servlet response RES. Right? So you will keep a conditional check in your program saying that if the validation is getting failed, do not forward the request. If the validation is getting failed, use this method. If the validation is getting successful, dispatch the request to the courier services. This is case 1 and this is case 2. When you talk about the request dispatcher in Java Servlet, you should remember only 2 things. So you should remember about this method and you should remember about this method. As simple as that. There are 2 methods, but there is only one interface. The name of the interface is request dispatcher. With this, we will develop a small application for the better understanding. This is the outline and the overview of the request dispatcher in Java Servlets. And when you talk about request dispatcher, it is also part of Spring application. It is also part of Threads. Right? You will be using these terminologies even in the Spring Boot. Right? But this is since we are just beginning to understand the concept, this understanding is actually necessary. Right? So let me write a small program. For that, let me open the Eclipse. The Eclipse is already open. Right? File, new, dynamic web project. We know how to develop a web application. To develop web application, we will have to choose dynamic web project. The name of the project is going to be what? Request dispatch. Let me keep it as request dispatch. Click on next. Click on next. We have to ensure that this particular box is getting checked. Finish. . Very simple, isn't it? So project is being built. Okay, project is already built. Let me open a front end page, HTML page. For that, right click on the project, right click on your project, new HTML file. So I am keeping the file name as index.html. You can keep any name, but index.html is always recommended because it is the actual home page. So next, finish. Okay, index.html is created. Let me keep the title as so we will develop a project on based upon the login, right? So there will be login page, there will be login form. User will be filling up details, right? If the user is giving the right information, right, the next page will be what? Next page will be displayed. If the user is giving the wrong information, he will get an error message saying that the user ID or the password is incorrect. Like this as an example we will take to understand about this request dispatcher. So login page. So I have already created an HTML page for this. Let me copy this one. So inside the body, I am taking a form tag. So the action is login. I am taking two text fields, right? One text field and one password field, right? I'm using the post method because since we are using the password, the data should not be displayed in the URL header. So that's why I'm using post method. And also we are submitting the data. We have already seen how this get method and the post method and what are its importance and what some properties that we have discussed in the extra test class, right? I'm acting upon those properties. I'm saving this. If I run this, and on server, next finish. Let me restart the server. Finish, run on server. Okay, this is the simple home page, right? I am allowed to give my username and the password. I can give any password. After clicking on this, if my password is correct, I should be able to see the welcome page. The password is incorrect, I should not be able to see the welcome page. Instead of seeing the welcome page, I should get an error here saying that the user ID or password is incorrect. Right? So this is our URL. Right? Now you see if I click login, we are getting 404 error. Right? First step. Step 1. Step 1. Create an HTML page. HTML page. So we have just created an HTML page. So this is the URL for our HTML page. So let me copy the content as well. So clips. To new. Okay. Content has been copied. Let me paste that here. So this is the content. Right? If you see, I have given the method as post method. Why I am given the method as post method? Because I am submitting some information. Right? I am submitting some information. So post method is mandatory. Not mandatory, it is highly recommended. Post method highly recommended whenever an information or any data is getting submitted or whenever a sensitive information is being submitted to the server. right? So these are my fields. I don't think we need much explanation about this field. But as soon as I hit the submit button, it is trying to fetch the login page. So far, we did not create any kind of login page or any kind of Java servlet. Right? It is looking for this page. At last, it is not able to identify this login page, and it is giving us an error. What error it is showing us? 404 error. 404 error. So when you say 404, it means in the server, this particular page that we are looking for is not registered. So we are looking for this login page. This login page is not registered or not placed or not created, by the in the server side. 404 means page not found. Page not found. It is the one of the popular HTTP standard codes. When you see this error, 404 is nothing but the page not found. The page is not yet developed or the page is not yet identified. Right? So let me do this also. So this is also one of the interview questions. Okay. By doing this, we got what? We got this 404 error. Why we got this 404 error? Because the servlet page is not yet defined. The auto error has been thrown as the content of the URL that we are looking for has not been identified by the server. In return, it has given a response. So the response is given by the server, but the response is in the form of error code. So we got what? 404 error code, which means page is not found. Page is not found. In order to avoid this error, we need to create a page. The second step. First step is done. Now second step. The second step is very simple. Go back here. File, new. Let me create a class. We need to create a servlet. But in this case, I am going to keep the name of the servlet as login. Right? Login, and the package name is com.follow.login. Package name is also login and the class name is also login, but if you look at the cases are different. This is in uppercase and this is in lowercase. Right? So let me click on finish. Right, this is an ordinary Java class, but I want to make this class as a servlet class. For that, we need to do one thing. The ordinary Java class needs to get extended to the HTTP servlet class. Now this has become what? Servlet. This has become what? Full-fledged servlet. So let me make some changes here. Public void. So we are using a method called post. So in this case, I am going to call a method called toPost method. So this toPost method is going to accept two arguments. One is HTTP ServletRequest REQ, HTTP servlet ServletResponse RES. Okay, objects are created. I am taking a class printWriter, creating an object for printWriter class. printWriter OUT equal to response.getWriter. Object has been created. I just want to display testing whether this is working or not. Print ln testing. So it is throwing us an error. We need to add throws declaration. It has been done. Okay, we have designed the servlet class. Now we need to perform the mapping in the web.xml. Why mapping needs to be performed? After submission, it will look for this login. So we need to design this endpoint, login endpoint. For that, we will be using what? Web.xml. So let me open web.xml. Inside this web.xml, I need to use the two significant tags. One is servlet name, servlet tag, and servlet mapping tag. These two tags should always go together. Servlet tag and the servlet mapping tag. Again, inside the servlet tag, there are two subtags. Know this already. One is servlet name. Second one is servlet class. So again, inside this mapping tag, there are two subtags. One is servlet name and is URL tag. Right. So if I use servlet name as XYZ, right, the same name needs to be used in the subtag of the servlet mapping. So here also XYZ. These two should go together. These two servlet tags should be identified as a single pair. To achieve that, we will be using the same XYZ, XYZ. So URL pattern, right? So in order to understand this URL pattern, go to index.html. We have given login. We are going to use the same thing, right? So login. Since we are developing an login page, I'm keeping it very simple. So URL pattern is login. So the name of the servlet class, if you go back here, fully qualified name. So com.balu.login. Fully qualified name. Right. So let me save this and so let us run this once again and see the expected result. So going to index.html and clicking on run on server. Let me save this and it's running. Okay, so my name is Balaji. Let me take the password as 12345. So testing. So this is not our requirement. My requirement is if I click on password, so let us say that password is 12345, right? If the password is same as the password that is available in the, if the password is matching with the records that is available in the database, I should see this page, right? If the password is matching, I should get this page. If the password is not matching, right? There should be an error message in this particular page saying that the incorrect password, something like that. Some kind of error message needs to be displayed. That is my requirement, right? So now if you observe this, if I click on login, right? So from here, the login page is that this is a login server. From here, I need to dispatch the request to another servlet page. From here, I should dispatch my request to another servlet page saying that the login is successful. Right? This is a simple login page. This login page is talking about the login servlet. Right? So if this request is getting executed, I am simply seeing the output as testing. But my requirement is, right, as soon as this login class is getting executed, inside this login class, I should keep another servlet here. Right, I should keep another servlet file here so that the request will be dispatched to that particular servlet. Right, for that I am taking another servlet. The name of the servlet is what? Welcome.java. File new class. So this time welcome. Right, let me extend this to HTTP servlet. HTTP server. Right. So we have two servlets now. One is login servlet and the second one is what? The welcome servlet. Right. So inside this, let us keep the servlet blank. So here what I am doing is I need to bypass this request. I need to bypass a request to the welcome.java. So the request will be received to login, but login is sending this, dispatching this request to welcome.java. How to achieve that? Right. So we can achieve this by using a simple statement. For this, I need a request dispatcher. So I was saying, no, there is an interface called request dispatcher interface. Request dispatcher is an interface. I need to use this interface to dispatch the request to another servlet, right? So I'm doing that. I'm doing the same thing here. Request dispatcher RD. Let me take it as RD equal to request dot get request dispatcher. So don't worry. This is an interface. This is a method. This is a method that is found inside this interface. This method is going to what this RD object, RD reference variable. By using this RD reference variable, we are going to create an object. By using this object, we will be forwarding the request to welcome.java, or we can say that we will be forwarding the request to welcome servlet, right? So I need to forward the request to welcome servlet. So I'm using here name called welcome name, right? So we can use any name, but welcome is the highly recommended because meaningful name, right? In the second line, what I'm saying is rd dot forward. So my intention is to forward the request to the welcome.java or the welcome servlet. Forward request to the welcome servlet. So request and response object is going to throw us an error. Let me add throws declaration. So it is completed. Right? If I run this, I will get error because we haven't designed any servlet tagging inside this web.xml. So let me do that as well. Let me copy this. Let me paste it here. So instead of XYZ, I am taking ABC this time, and this is ABC. Form dot balu dot login dot. Instead of login, I am taking welcome. Welcome. And if the URL is welcome, right, this servlet class will be called. If the URL is welcome, this servlet tag will be called. So let me save this. Let me keep this little concise. Be concise this. Okay. 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 So the design is successful. Let me go back here. Okay. Let me copy this print writer. Right. Okay, before even doing that, I need to create an option. Create a method public void to post HTTP servlet request req HTTP. Every time you do this, it is a common thing. So response. Okay. Next, I am using print writer class. It is going to throw now out dot. I am displaying a message. The message is going to be very simple. Welcome message. Dot print element. This case I am going to print welcome to servlets. Well, let us understand the flow. As soon as we hit this URL, it is going to display the login page. In the login page, we will enter the credentials, right? This login servlet will be called. Right? While calling this login servlet, we are bypassing the request. We are bypassing the request by using request dispatcher, right? So this request dispatcher is accepting an argument or parameter. The parameter says welcome, right? So welcome means it is going to look into the web.xml. So this is where the welcome is, right? The tagged class, the tagged pair for this particular welcome endpoint is com.balu.login.welcome. So it is going to call this class, right? Inside this class, there is a logic saying that welcome to servlets. So we should see welcome to servlets as an output. As simple as that. Right? If I save this and if I start doing the restart, if I do restart the server, if I start running this once again on the server, Let me write Balaji 1 2 3 4 5. Welcome to Servlets. But we cannot design an application like this because the password that I am entering. So if I am going to enter another password like 1111111, a different password, still I am able to log in. Let me enter another password 12123455. Still I am able to log in. Let me enter another one, random letters. Still I am to log in. But my requirement is the some kind of authentication needs to be done. If the authentication is successful, then forward the request. If it is getting failed, don't forward the request. That is my request. That is my expectation. For that, what I will do, see, if you see here, I have been dispatching the request to the welcome servlet, right? But this condition, like this welcome servlet, should be called only if my password is correct, or else it should not be called, right? I was telling, if you remember, let me go back to this example, right? This forward method, the job of the forward method is to dispatch our request to another servlet. But there is another method called include method, right? Include method is not going to transfer our request. Instead of transferring our request, it is going to print, it is going to execute the same page. It is going to include the same servlet page. Forward is what? When you use forward, your request is being bypassed or being forwarded to another servlet. But if you use include, the request will not be bypassed. Instead of bypassing, the same servlet page will be executed, right? So in this case, we have used forward request. See, let me take another statement like out dot println checking. Right? So this will not be printed in the console, even though we have mentioned the statement. This particular statement will be ignored because our request has been forwarded to welcome servlet, and the welcome servlet will be sending us a response. This will be ignored. Whatever the statement that you are giving after this request dispatcher, those statements will be ignored. Right? Let me run this once again for the better understanding. Back here, stop, run on server, and Tomcat server, finish. Right, Balaji, any value I can give. Welcome to servlet, right? So the control is getting forwarded to welcome servlet, and this particular line is getting ignored. So there is no use of giving any lines after this dispatcher server. That's what I mean to say. Right now, my requirement is only do the transfer or only dispatch the request to the welcome servlet if the password is correct. If the password is incorrect, do not do. If the password is correct, do the request. For that, what I will do, I will be taking the parameter that is being submitted by the end user. So the parameter can be catched with help of string str equal to request dot get parameter. Get parameter. So what is the name of the parameter? Right. So we will check only the password. So the name of the parameter is user pass. Let me copy that. Let me paste it over. The pass. Right. So we got the parameter with str. Now I am using a simple if block. If str dot equals. I have to use equals method because string is going to do the content comparison with equals method. Right? If user pass is equal to 1 2 3 4 forward the request only if the password is what 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, 1 minute. Forward the request only if the password is 1 2 3 4 5, or else the password is not 1 2 3 4 5. Print this. System.out.println. Print what? User ID or password is incorrect. Right, let me save this. Stop the server. Stop. Server has been stopped. Let me restart the server. Non server. Select the server. Next. Finish. So welcome page I got. Right. Name is Balaji. Right. Let me enter the right password. 12345. If you see 12345. Let me log in. Successful. Let me go back. Let me enter incorrect password. Any random characters. See? Login. Now I'm getting user ID or password is incorrect. But if you see, if you observe one thing, this user ID or password is incorrect. I want this. I want this to be. I want this to be printed in the same page, right? So that if the user ID or password is incorrect, if it is being displayed in the same page, I can retry it in the same page, right? If that is not the case, right? Every time I have to come back. When I come back and again when I do login, right? Every time our page is going to interact with the server once again, right? And again it is going to find it is incorrect, right? Again as a user I need to come back. Instead of doing that, if the content is being displayed in the same page, for me it will be very easy to do the corrections in the same page without going back to the coming back from this successful page. I mean the page that is being displayed. User ID or password is incorrect. To achieve that, I will be using what now? Now I will be using a statement called the method called the include method. This is a forward method, forwarding the request, right? If this is incorrect, I should execute the else block. Inside the else block, I am going to use another method, right? So request this time, let me copy this. Request dispatcher RT equal to. So instead of going to welcome page, display the same page. The name of the page is what? Index.html. Be in the same page. Include the same page. Be in the same page. It means RT dot include. So be in the same page. Right? If it is successful, dispatch the request to welcome page. If it is not successful, right, print the information in the same page. I should see index.html page. Let me run this. Index.html run as. So before even running, stop the server. Run as, run on server. Concat server. Next, finish. Balaji, incorrect password I am trying to get. 1, 2, 3. So see, if you see, I am getting an HTML document. So the actual HTML page is getting displayed, right? So why it is getting displayed like that? If you see, so in the previous in the line number 25, so here the servlet is getting called. When the servlet is getting called, the servlet responsibility to generate the output in the form of HTML. But here we are directly calling index.html page, right? So we need to ensure that the HTML page is getting converted into the actual, rendered into the actual actual HTML documentation and displayed to the console. For that we need to add a property called the response. Use the response object and set the content type. Response object and set the content type. The content type should be what? Text.html. Content type should be HTML. So if you do this without this, it will directly print the text. But if you do this, right, it will consider this as HTML page and the actual response will be rendered in the browser. Let me save this. Run as. Run on server. Okay. Server is being called Balaji. Let me give the incorrect password 1 2 3. See, now I am seeing user ID or password is incorrect. right? So again, I have an option to check for the information the same page. User ID password is incorrect, right? Let me give a wrong password. User ID password is incorrect. So same page is getting displayed, isn't it? Same user ID page, now login credential page is getting displayed, right? So we have achieved that by using what? By using this particular method, include method. So the same response is included. Now the response is coming from login page. Login page is transferring the response, right? If the password is successful, the response will be dedicated to the welcome page. So this will be rendered in the form of response. Not successful, same page will be displayed in the response. So login page is given. So in this case, you can assume you can replicate the login pages Amazon. You can replicate this welcome pages what the courier services, right? If the condition is satisfied, Amazon is satisfied with your with your details, right? Your request, your order request will be processed, and the courier services will respond to your request. The condition is not satisfied, Amazon is going to deliver the actual response saying that insufficient balance or order is not available, the stock is not available, things like that, right? To forward the request, use forward method. If you do not want to forward the request, use what? Include method. We have achieved that. We achieved these two things by using if else block. As simple as that, right? So let me take this code and let us try to understand the execution code. So this is step one. Step one, simple as index.html, and the page is not full, and we have did so many changes in the step one, right? This is step two, right? We have created a login page, right? So this is a login page, login extend HTTP servlet, right? So you know how the control flow, right? So this is nothing to do with this particular page. Whatever the response that we are trying to get, if the response is directly in the form of HTML page, if it is in the form of servlet, no issues. The servlet will render the output that can be understood by the browser, right? If it is directly in HTML page, right, the content of the HTML page will be displayed. To avoid the content being displayed, we will use this. We will set the content type as text /HTML, right? As simple as that. So the print writer, the writer object will be created, and we are trying to catch what? We catch the parameter user password from the HTML page, right? So in this case, let us say that I am entering what? 12345, right? This 12345 will be stored in str equal to 12345, right? And it will check whether the content, whether the password that has been entered by the end user is matching with the password that is available in the database. So actually we have hard coded this. In future we are going to do the same operation with the database. We will check the content in the database. This time I have just hard coded this. If the condition is satisfied, right, the control will be, the if block will be executed. So inside the if block, what we are saying, we are creating an RD object, request dispatcher object, right? That is request dispatcher object is going to call welcome servlet, right? The second line, using this RD object, we are using a method called, we are calling a method called forward method. This forward method will ensure that this request is transferred to the welcome page, right? From here the control will be transferred to the welcome servlet. Let me copy and paste the welcome servlet also. So this is the welcome servlet. Right? From here the control will be jumped to the welcome servlet. This is where the control was. From here the control will be forwarded to the welcome servlet. Again in the welcome servlet, and request or writer object is there, and we are displaying a simple text content which says welcome to servlets. Right? If the password is correct, this welcome servlet will be called. The password is incorrect, right? This needs to be displayed on the same index.html page. Right? For that, we are going to use a method called include method. As simple as that. Right? So, case 1, this is called servlet 1, servlet 2. Servlet 2. Right? You use include method when the validation is failed, or when you want to display the same index.html page. Right? Again, this is servlet 1. This servlet 2. You use forward method, right? Once you feel that the validation is successful, right? The client request will be dispatched to another servlet. You will get response. You will get an indirect response from a different servlet. You expect response from one servlet 1, but you get response from the another servlet. This concept is called what? Request dispatcher in Java servlet. Very simple. Right? So we can conclude this. I have taken only 4 pages. 2 servlets, one index.html, and one web.xml. Right? So when someone is asking you what is request dispatcher, you can say this. You can use this as an example. In a bottom line is very simple. To call one servlet from another servlet, we use request dispatcher. There are 2 methods, forward, right, include. Use forward method, your request will be forwarded to dispatch to the next servlet or another servlet. If you use include method, right, the same HTML page has to be rendered in the console.